Did South Park accurately predict Justin Trudeau's online news act? Justin Trudeau is trying to clamor to get this one out of the attention of the media. Of course, a lot of people paying attention to, well, the India scandal that he's drummed up, and there's a lot of other scandals, but this is one that particularly has been affecting news media and people getting their news in Canada. Trudeau says other countries are quietly backing Canada in fight over an online news act. You would know this news act as Bill C-18. It's now law. It's the News Act. They haven't worked out the kinks on this piece of legislation, but it's basically regulation that says who is a news outlet in Canada, and it's a shakedown on social media companies that allow news on their platforms. Now, it's amazing because, well, Justin Trudeau is saying that this is how news outlets will be able to make their money, and it's only fair that they're able to do this. Now, people who aren't boomers, sorry boomers out there in the audience, but maybe you don't get this. Maybe some of you absolutely do, but Justin Trudeau here clearly doesn't get it. His whole cabinet doesn't get it. But when you have a scrolling news feed on a social media platform, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, any of these, even YouTube, there's algorithms that pick what's going to be shown in front of you, and if your content gets picked and put in front of somebody, that's a prize. That's a present for you to have your stuff viewed by other people. You're watching this video because it was recommended to you, and this is largely thanks to the algorithm and YouTube allowing my content to be viewed. And when people view my content, then that's great. That's great. It works for this channel, and that's fantastic. Now, it's the same way for news outlets. If they happen to stumble upon a news outlet story on a Facebook post or on a Twitter post, or now X as they call it, Instagram, what have you, this is a prize for the news agency because that's the chance for them to get a click on their website. This isn't the other way around. The social media company is not picking this particular post and saying we're gonna make money on this. That's not how it works, and they're making marginal money on the advertisements that take place. If you bring somebody to another site, well, there's no none of that. And I mean, regular posters aren't making money on their posts. This is just the way social media works, and no, you're actually benefiting from them allowing you to have this. But of course, Trudeau is just saying, "Give me money, give me money." Now, Marty up north, he posted this, and it's incredible. This is an old, like 8 years old, from an episode of South Park, and he came across this one, and it's basically straight up Bill C-18. Just think of Pablo Rodriguez and the terrible Prime Minister of Canada pitching this one to the world, as he says the world is got his back, and we're gonna get into that clip, but this is just unbelievably accurate to what has happened.
What exactly does Canada want?
We want more money. Yeah, more money.
More money from where?
From where?
Just more money, you know. Canada doesn't get enough money. Other countries have lots of money. We want some of that money. How about the internet? The internet makes lots of money, so give us some of that money. Yeah, give us internet money.
Mr. Bootman, you seem to not understand how global economics works. I think
Don't give me that fat cat fancy lip wiggling. Are you gonna give Canada more money or not?
What exactly does Canada want?
More money. We want your money. We want that internet money. And this is just, it's incredible, because that, I mean, on its face value, that looks so stupid that we would have, a leader that would go before the rest of the world to just say, we want that internet money. But this is exactly what Justin Trudeau is saying with this online news act. It is unbelievable. And now he's touting that other people are trying to, or other countries are totally in support. Won't name any of those countries, but he's totally in support. In fact, I'll show you this news clip, but I wanted the reporter to maybe act like Pierre Poilievre did when when he was asked about people saying that he was dog whistling. He really just wanted to know who.
A number of your own comments and actions have been characterized as dog whistling to
By
the
who?
far right.
By who?
by a number of
By
different.
who?
But I think it's been
By who?
characterized by that way. But
By
are
who?
you trying to
Sorry,
court? Are
I
you
just
trying
need
to
to, I
court
need to
the far
clarify.
right
Sorry,
vote?
I just need to clarify. By who?
By who? And this is what we should be asking Justin Trudeau in this time. But no, he doesn't answer that. Spoilers moving forward. But apparently, a bunch of other countries are super interested in backing us up on this one, or the federal government. Now, again, I'm laying this out here. It is a shakedown. This is the government of Canada saying these outlets that we say are outlets, not any other ones. I mean, there's a bunch that were left out on this that applied for it and were rejected. But no, only these outlets are news outlets, and those outlets shall get this new tax on social media companies. Now, it was very predictable that, well, they're just going to say, well, either we pay or we shut down news on our website. Okay, we're just going to shut down news on the website. In compliance, totally fair. But here's the clip of Justin Trudeau being asked about his failure on this online news act.
We're still very much in the middle of the fight with Meta.
Not going great. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's it's sort of a thing. It's obviously Meta has a huge amount of power, a huge amount of profits, a huge stake in continuing to be able to benefit from the work of local journalists for free. But let's ask ourselves, if we don't say, well, no, you know what? If people are going to share local news on your platform and you're going to make money off of it from ad revenue, you should be responsible for paying for Canadian journalism, for Canadian content. That's, if we don't do that, what happens in 20 years when we said, okay, fine, when we have no more Canadian journalism, we have no more Canadian content. This is not an easy fight, but it's the right fight to be in, because if you
I'm going to stop him right there. So when you're scrolling and somebody shares a site, again, at the beginning of the video, I said this. If somebody shares the site, this is a favor to the news outlet. They get their stuff shared out there. It's called organic growth. It's a concept that Trudeau just doesn't get. But yeah, this is definitely a favor to these news organizations, because then they allow them to go click on the link and go to the other website, go off their own site and onto the news website where they can be served with ads that Facebook or any of these other companies won't get any money for. It's completely a favor to these news agencies. Now, when Trudeau comes in and says that this is supposed to be, it's about fairness. No, it isn't. It isn't at all. But let's get into it.
Don't have quality, independent journalism, then your democracy erodes even faster than it is now. And we're
faster than it is now under him. I love that. I love that. But the thing is, and this has been my prediction since the beginning of this, I think what's going to happen is these news agencies in Canada are going to fail because of Trudeau's legislation. It's because of Trudeau's legislation, not because of Meta. It's not because of any of these. Now, when Google ends up following suit as the law matures, Google will have to follow suit. All the other social media platforms will have to follow suit. They're just going to cancel it. They're not going to pay this tax. No, they're not going to, because other countries would get on board with this. But they're not going to pay this tax. This is something that's just going to hurt these companies. Now, what I predict is going to happen is, because a lot of these journalists are going to lose their jobs, they're going to go to American companies to report Canadian news so that can be targeted at Canadians in Canada, because you can still get American news in Canada on Meta. So I think that's my prediction. It's going to tank the Canadian news agencies, and it's going to foster a new form of Americans serving Canadian news, which obviously is not desirable for this guy. They won't be able to propagandize them, but maybe the U.S. will.
Simply asking that Meta be consequential and responsible. And what they've chosen to do is block people from sharing articles about wildfires because they don't want to pay for local journalism.
Yeah, I don't think...
No, the bill blocked people from learning about wildfires. Justin Trudeau's bill blocked people from learning about wildfires. That is the truth.
I think a lot of people might actually agree with what you're saying, but outcomes matter too, right? If you're going to play chicken, you want to be the guy that wins.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But if we don't,
I got to hand it to CBC for turning their back on Trudeau. Obviously, they're not happy in this whole situation. Trudeau kind of screwed them over. So this is where they're at.
Win, then everybody loses. And that's where countries around the world are actually, and I heard this again when I was overseas, people saying, stand strong, because this really matters, because we are going to lose local journalism. People won't have access to local news if the internet giants continue to make ad profits off of things that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah, although, you know, all these other countries, they don't seem to be like jumping to our side here to kind of help out.
Quietly
He
they
laughs
are,
and
and they're
calls
watching
him
very
out for
closely,
it.
and they're building things that are similar to us.
No, they're
but
not.
yeah, you go Canada, you
Yeah.
take this fight, so we'll do it. We don't mind doing it because it's so important.
It's amazing because this could all be over if they just repealed the law. If they repealed Bill C-18, which they crammed through the parliament, by the way. They absolutely crammed this through, and they got it, and they've gotten what they deserve. They lost their propaganda wing of the Liberal Party. And that's the sad truth about it. But further in this interview, I mean, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Watch the full interview, because it's scathing on Trudeau. And the interviewers right off the bat cuts into the fact that he's polling terribly.
So I know that we have a limited amount of time, so I just really want to get into it with you. Your polling numbers are pretty bad right now. They're as bad as they've ever been for your government since you took power in 2015. But the group that I really want to talk to you about today is a group that are big listeners of our show, Gen Z millennials.
Oh, you're tricking yourself on that one. I don't think they're big listeners of your show, but they are the future of Canada, the Gen Z and millennials, and they are dropping Trudeau like it's hot.
And you are polling particularly bad with this group. And I wonder if you reflect on it, why you think this group is leaving you in very big numbers, because they came out to vote for you in 2015, right?
Yeah.
Perfect example, perfect time for him to take responsibility for his actions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, we worked with them, 8 years ago, to reverse a government that didn't do anything on climate change, that didn't believe in inclusive economic growth, kept with trickle down, give tax breaks to the wealthiest. We managed to turn that around significantly. And we're in a really good position when the pandemic hit. And then the past few years have been really, really hard, particularly on young people, where there is now a sense not just of the challenges of paying for groceries or paying for rent or anything, but the idea of home ownership, the idea of a really strong, exciting future seems further and further away now than it did just a few years ago. And that loss of hope and optimism is devastating for people's morale. Of course, they're gonna grumble at government, and they're gonna say that the world's going in the wrong direction, and we have to step up and make sure we're solving for that.
8 years into your get out of here. He's gonna come up. But we can take a blast from the past and learn from what happens when a Trudeau gets into government, because we all remember good times. Times have been good. We've had good economic times. But what happens when a Trudeau gets in government? Let's look back to our past. This is when Trudeau Sr. was in government in Canada.
Rate went down today, but once again the drop was marginal. The new rate is 17.08%. That's only 6/100ths of a percentage point lower than last week. Chartered banks are unlikely, as a result, to lower their prime rates. There'll be no relief from 15% and 16% mortgages either. Although at Fred Langen reports, those high rates don't seem to be frightening home buyers.
I think if you have to buy a house and that's what the mortgage rates are, what are you going to do? You have to accept it. And of course it bothers you. The payments are high, but you can't do anything else. Those are the rates.
On a 50,000.
We live in a completely different economy today, though. If rates were that, everyone's insolvent.
$1,000 mortgage at 10%.
A $50,000 mortgage. Imagine that.
The payment would be $447 a month.
Oh, wow.
But at 15%, and that's a good rate today, the payment is $623 a month.
I don't think people think that we'll ever see 12, 11 again. Maybe even not 13.
A year ago, when interest
Yeah,
rates...
not under a Trudeau. This is what happens when you elect a Trudeau. Big thanks to Mike for finding this and popping this on Twitter. But hey, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the Online News Bill Act and the fact that South Park 8 years ago predicted this exact predicament and how stupid our Prime Minister is. Exactly 8 years ago, we got him. Hey, what do you know? What do you know? Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.